I'm not sure, sweetheart. I don't know. ETE Seni Sanet, Uncle Jet, Uncle Jasanet. It's been a while since I did a stream. It's been a minute. I just wanted to cover a quick discussion we kind of had today, in which I was terribly interrupted by my brothers. It's okay though. It's nothing major. But sometimes people want to rely on science, and if you rely on science, then you need to be okay with what science says. Otherwise you just have a hypothesis. I'm shooting this from my honey's bedroom, right? So more, I'm in my pillow right now, right? Um, and so you would expect that when science shows something, the people who use science will stand up for that. You want them to stand up for that. But not everybody really uses science like that. So, it's one thing to say you use science, it's another thing when science shows you something. So, today we were having a discussion. This was on our brother Garfield's channel. And basically, we were talking about if Africans were in America before Columbus. Um, and then we had some discussions. Um, there are scientists who say so. Some other people do not. What's up, sweetheart? You good? You straight?
I have to go look in the car, and I ain't going down.
Okay. Give me a second. I'll go down in a second. And so basically, when we're having this discussion, a few things happen. Number one, you have people who don't use science and who kind of Google stuff only, hopping on saying pseudo, 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 but they're the pseudo. They're the ones who don't really know science. And this happens on occasion. Um, then you have a couple of my friends who actually do research who sometimes you're just wrong. It happens that way. Sometimes you're wrong. And when you're wrong, what you don't want to do is throw a temper tantrum. Okay. So a few topics came up, right? Everybody's all, you know, overzealous about vaccines. You're either totally against it or totally with it. And I made a comment concerning one of my brothers, Sutek asked, he was like, "Did you get vaccinated yet?" I was like, "Not yet." It's like, "Did you get the?" I was like, "Yeah, but I got the virus, so my body's building antibodies. It has." Um, for most people who don't know, if your body doesn't build antibodies after you get a certain infection or disease or anything of that nature, a pandemic in this case, you won't live. You'll die. So when I say that, and then I have somebody who thinks they use science say pseudo, it wasn't him in particular, it was someone else. Um, you're wrong. You don't know science. Your body has to build antibodies, just like your T blood cells fight infections. So people are they misconstrue a lot of things and they don't have a lot of facts about science. Then I made a comment about improving the vaccine. This is my brother Sean Hobson, and him and Sutek asked, "Oh, what you mean improving a vaccine?" And already this tells me you don't know anything about VPDs. You don't, because when you when a vaccine is built, sometimes it's not as good as it needs to be. Okay, um, Louis Pasteur. It's where you get the term pasteurization from with milk. When he first builds the system of pasteurization, it's not good enough, so they improve on it. With vaccines, some vaccines are good. They find out about different things, such as the mutation you're seeing right now with this particular strain of COVID. And so they have to improve on the vaccine that they give you in order to make sure even a strain of mutation does not impact you. Most people don't know that because most people don't know science. So I say, yeah, I'm going to wait till the vaccine improves because I've already caught it and I fought it off. And so this is what you do if you're smart, because you can have issues with vaccines. Um, in this case, that's what I'm doing. The main makeup of the vaccine is pretty simple. I've shown that before to people in chat rooms who tried to act like vaccines were mystical, magical, or science above science, and it's not. It's not. Vaccines are pretty simple. And so in this case, I had to break that down. I'm like, look, you can improve on that. And so when you do things like this, you show me you don't really study science. You just kind of Google science here and there, and that's fine. But some of us study science. We enjoy the study of science. Um, and so in doing that, you're gonna run into certain people who would like to have all the information in the world and they don't. And so we went online and we started to discuss this. This was on Garfield's show, and there was a study done a long time ago, uh, and BBC had did a documentary on it. Um, they were talking about ancient voices, um, saying that uh, they had found the skull of a woman that her name was Lucia at the I'm trying to Serra de Capivara, think is where they found it. It's kind of northeast eastern Brazil, right? And they're saying that it dates back to 9,000 to 12,000 years ago, or 50,000 years ago. They believe human habitation was there. And so, in saying that, they basically make the statement that this woman's features, and this is from Richard Neve at the University of Manchester, um, said that her face is basically a Negroid face, and that it appeared she would have had come from Australia. She appeared to be Aborigine. Simple as that. Um, and so when you go into what that means, a Negroid face, uh, if you go to dictionary.com and look up Negro race, look up the word Negro, and or look up Negroid, and it's basically going to say black people. And so that went from that to they hopped to something about Egyptians could have never came to North America and something else crazy that had nothing to do with it. Basically, black people is very logical that they came to America before Columbus. Um, with the conquistadors who traveled with some black conquistadors, that would be the case. So done already, right? But also, when you just look at the early inhabitants of America, I mean, just look at the Panamanians. You got black Panamanians. How did they get here? How did they get here? They weren't called Panamanians when they first got here, right? You have darker people in these cultures, because when you look at human migration, you have black people first. You people don't even like a lot of people talk about the E1B1, you know, when it comes to DNA. They talk about the E1B1. They don't even look at E1B1, E1B1, E1B2, which is in the Sudan, and they don't even look at the E1B1A in depth, which comes from Ethiopians and other Sudanese and the Maasai and different African cultures. This, when you look at how people migrate out of Africa, you can see black people are migrating out of Africa, and eventually other cultures are formed. Other what you would call races. but we're only talking about different phenotypes of human beings. So it would be very logical that your first Native Americans were probably dark skinned. They were probably black. They were Negroid. And so when you look at the Olmec it's one thing. But when you look at some of the different features of the people and how dark and variations of their skin are, you're going to probably come to the conclusion that they were black, just like these archaeologists did. Now, the other thing, we just found another tribe who were jet black. They had killed the Christian minister. How'd they get there? We didn't even get to discuss this part. There's a whole bunch of things we didn't get to discuss, but they're all black over there. They're like jet black. So you can tell that they traveled from Africa and eventually got there, or possibly from Australia and eventually got there. We didn't even discuss that part, but they're in North America. They're in North America. And then I had mentioned Amen-Ra 2, which is the boat that traveled, made by Thor Heyerdahl and some of his comrades, and they traveled from Chad on a papyrus boat to North America. The first expedition failed. The second one didn't. But I point this out in the chat. I say Amen-Ra boat number 2 early. So my brother Sean hops on and says, Amen-Ra didn't even make it over here. So he's being disingenuous already, just to try to save face. And there's no need to save face. And it's so hard to have discussions on those types of platforms because either the host wants to hop in and say something, or they want to hop in and cut you off as well. And so when that happens, you have to go beyond them and you have to state your point. So we gave Sean time to talk. And when it came to my time to talk, of course, they're hopping in, they're jumping off. Some guy hops in, and I had brought up an article. I didn't even get to the point of the article. He's hopping in. Oh, brother, this, that, the other. Negro Hamidar said, yeah, that's the location where she went. And she's going crazy over there. So we have to be careful about what we disseminate, because he said Amen-Ra boat number 1 didn't make it. But we had already talked about Amen-Ra boat number 2, which did make it. So then he has to recant his statement concerning. And when you have to recant your statement concerning, well, it can be embarrassing. But what we don't want you to do is what he pointed out. He was like, I have Uncle hop on here and curse you out. I said, yeah, we can curse each other out till Garfield cuts me off. But it won't be no out. You just look as embarrassing as what you're looking like now, because you're saying that this boat never made it to North America, and it clearly did. The boat was in North America. The first boat made it almost all the way to Barbados, which was its destination, and 2 miles from the coast, it fell short. The second boat just made it all the way to Barbados. Papyrus boat, simple as that. 57 days it took to get there. And so when we start to bring these facts out, sometimes it becomes embarrassing if you're just trying to get your point across. But if you remember who you are and be an Asar and let the science be what it actually is, you won't have a problem. But he didn't do that. And because he didn't do that, it becomes an issue for what you try to put forth. You say you're with science. Why are you challenging what science has put forth for you after the hypotheses have been presented? And so this is what we don't want to start doing. Don't throw a temper tantrum because it doesn't go your way, right? If you throw a temper tantrum every time it doesn't go your way, you look childish. You thinking cussing is gonna, take you up notches. It doesn't. I need your science. And so I was talking to some of the people in the chat, I say, okay, we're going to wait for your proof. I produce 3 different points of proof. We need your proof also. Their proof never materialized. It never materialized. So just know, if science proves you wrong, don't throw a temper tantrum. Simply change your view to correct thinking and make sure the science that you're looking at is sound. Make sure it's not somebody just trying to get their point across and it's not actually science. It's just somebody using pseudo information, calling it science. And so, with that being said, I want you guys to watch, and I posted in the Heck in the Chair room and a few other rooms. Check out the voyages. Amun Ra #1, Thor Heyerdahl. Amun Ra boat #2, Thor Heyerdahl. It's funny that we even talked about this because I just discussed this in a debate against my one of the debaters, EMAC, on the Solar Vision Debate League. So we bring this information out and we bring this information up. And this is like 3 months ago. It's 3 months ago we tackled it. Or actually, it wasn't EMAC, it was my partner, Lance. So go look at that information. Make sure that you read the scientific literature that you claim to back you. It's important that you do so. And when you do this, understand, if it's telling you you're wrong, don't try to make yourself right. That's the whole point in science, to see if your hypothesis is correct or if it's wrong. And if it's wrong, put that information down. Very simple. Very simple. Doesn't mean we're adults. Shout out to adults. Let them prove that. Doesn't mean we're usurping the omics. But it does mean that there's probably African people here way before Columbus. Way before Columbus. In fact, if you go to, there's a couple tests a couple quizzes. In fact, there's information you can use. One is from the Khan Academy, and the other one is I can't remember the other one. They showed that Africans were here before Columbus. One paper they retracted just because people were trying to usurp the omics as their own, as if though they were trying to say the Nok people from West Africa are the omics, etc., etc. But you don't need to usurp a culture to show that you were in North America before Columbus. It's not necessary. But we couldn't even get to that point because the brothers just wanted to make their own point and scream over the top of me. So with that being said, I'm going to end this nice and short tonight as I start streaming again. Because I'm laid up in the bed, so nothing fantastic tonight, but very simple situations, and you have information to back you if you go listen to that conversation that I put in there. And of course, if you have questions, do so. Shout out to my man Amun Rasut Atum, ETE Emetep, son. Uncle the Jed, Uncle Johnson. I haven't shared this or anything. I'm just on here chopping it up. Any questions before I share it and close out? Nope. My brother's good to go. I'm going to share this and end the stream. Uncle the Jed to you all.